Hi, it's me, and today I'm reviewing another of Canon's new RF lenses, the neat little RF 35mm f1.8 IS STM Macro. It's the least expensive of Canon's RF lenses so far, at £500 in the UK and only $450 in the US, so pretty good value for money for you cheeky Americans. But then again, if it's any good, then £500 might be a reasonable price. Let's see. As an RF lens, it is only for Canon's mirrorless full-frame EOS R cameras. It won't work on digital SLRs or Canon's smaller EOS M cameras. At the launch of the EOS R system, this small lens was rather overshadowed by its imposing and expensive L-lens playmates, but looking at its specification, it could potentially be one of the best lenses on the system if you ask me. That 35mm focal length is fantastic on full frame, a reasonably wide angle, which gives just a little emphasis on your subject. The bright maximum aperture of f1.4 lets you shoot in dark conditions and get somewhat out of focus backgrounds. It has a 1:2 ratio macro ability, which is less than what you'd see on a dedicated macro lens, but still it can bring you really close to your subject for some fun images. It's relatively small and light as well, and it has that neat customizable control ring at the end, a fun feature of Canon's RF lenses. And it even has image stabilization built in, which is great to see on a full frame f1.8 optic. Here's some footage with it turned off and now turned on. As you can see, it makes quite a difference, giving you smoother handheld video footage and sharper pictures at slow shutter speeds. What a fantastic list of features there! Let's look closer and see whether its quality is good enough to make it potentially one of the most useful lenses ever made. This is a mid-range Canon lens. Its body is mostly made of plastic except for the metal lens mount, which doesn't have a weather sealing gasket. It's relatively small and light, weighing only 300 grams. What's nice is that it has some useful external controls, auto or manual focus mode, image stabilization on and off, the cool control ring at the front. I like controlling all those things from the lens instead of the camera, like you have to on some other systems. The focus ring turns averagely smoothly, and it's electronically coupled to the focus motor, responding quite well in manual focus mode, but also quite slowly. The STM autofocus motor is quite fast and efficient, as you can see here, shooting in stills mode, and here is the noise it makes as it works. That's actually one of the noisiest STM motors I've heard, although you'd hardly call it ear-piercing. You'd think that noise might be a problem when you're shooting video, right? Well, actually, if you're shooting with your camera in video mode, the lens's autofocus slows right down, and you can barely hear any noise at all, just a very low, barely audible rumble. So, Canon have cleverly made sure that the lens is still usable for video makers. Neat. But video makers should also be aware that the lens exhibits some focus breathing, zooming in as you focus closer to your subject. But on the bright side, that will be somewhat helpful for macro photography, getting you just slightly closer to your subject, I suppose. The lens's aperture mechanism has 9 iris blades for smoother looking bokeh when the aperture is topped down, and a rather stupid looking lens hood is available separately for £30. Don't bother with that thing. Overall, the lens works great, all its electronics and build quality are just fine. On to image quality now. I'm testing it here on my Canon EOS R with its 30 megapixel full frame sensor. Inner camera corrections are turned on. In the middle of the image, at f1.8, we see great sharpness right away, although contrast could be just a touch better. Over in the corners, sharpness is quite good, but we see a little ghosting and low contrast. Stop down to f2.8 for a much punchier image there, and f4 is fantastic. It stays this sharp down to f16, where we begin to see a little softening due to diffraction, and stop all the way down to f22, and the image is soft. Overall though, great performance here really, the lens is really sharp. A more expensive 35mm optic will be a bit punchier in your image corners at the brightest apertures, but whether you really need much more sharpness than this in the corners at f1.8 is a bit debatable anyway. Okay then, let's look at distortion and vignetting. Normally these are automatically corrected by your camera, but I like to turn those corrections off sometimes and test out how my lenses are really doing. We see moderate barrel distortion here and very heavy vignetting at f1.8. Stop down to f2.8 for even more brightness across the image frame, and f4 is better too, but after that there are no more real improvements. So you'll definitely want your camera or editing software to at least correct for vignetting. As I mentioned before, this lens has a 1:2 ratio macro ability, letting you get very close to your subject, and let's test that out on this old thruppence, which bears the image of Her Majesty, looking a little younger there than she does today. That close-up image quality is quite sharp at f1.8, and stop down to f2.8 for excellent sharpness. Close-up images remain this sharp down to f16, where a little softness from diffraction begins to creep in, and f22 is outright soft. But really, no problems at all here. Now let's look at how the lens works against bright light. Here you can see that contrast remains quite high, but there's a little bit of noticeable greener flaring when bright lights are directly in your picture. Nothing too bad though. And it's when shooting in the dark that you tend to notice chroma smearing sometimes too. Let's take a look. At f1.8 in the image corners we see considerable chroma smearing on bright points of light, which is a bit of a shame. Stop down to f2.8 though and it's largely gone, and it's completely gone at f4. When the aperture is topped down, you can also see here some gentle 18-point sun stars, nothing dramatic though. Next, let's take a look at bokeh. This lens can get you some nice background separation at f1.8, and generally the quality of those autofocus backgrounds is smooth enough, no real problems here. Sometimes more complex backgrounds can get slightly jumbled. I sometimes like to test out bright aperture lenses for longitudinal chromatic aberration. Let's see how this Canon lens performs. It's a bit noticeable at f1.8, pink highlighting before the plane of focus and green beyond. However, stop down to f2.8 to see that colour fringing greatly reduced. Well then, overall, I love this camera lens. I'd almost say that it's a good reason in itself to buy into the Canon EOS R system. It would be a especially nice combination with a little Canon EOS RP camera. It's just a lens that ticks all my boxes. It's small and packed with neat features, with a bright aperture and good image quality. You can't ask for much more than that. In fact, I think I'm going to give this thing the Canon L lens treatment. There, it deserves it. Now I reckon it's worth about £3,000 thanks to Canon's marketing strategy. Read the description below to see how I did that. It may not be an optically perfect lens, but it is a fantastically enjoyable one overall, and so it comes highly recommended.